like to welcome Kimberly's aunt and uncle Larry and Stephanie and her cousin Jesslyn. This is their first time speaking out about their story, and if it goes well, they plan to speak in other schools. So please give them your full attention and be respectful. Let's put our hands together for Kim's.
Again, thanks for having us here this morning. Kimberly asked us a while back if we talked about this. And be patient with us. This is the first time we've done this. Trying to get through talking about our son. So, but we're here today to talk about our son, Andrew Schrader. He's a brother to Jesslyn's son, cousin, niece, nephew, to a lot of our family, and we dearly miss him. But like I said, this is the first time we've talked in front of a group about this situation, and Andrew's journey, and the fact he passed away May 21st, 2011, about 10 days prior to his 19th birthday. So, but with that, going through his stuff, there was a letter that we found that actually he wrote when he was in elementary school. He was 10 years old, and it kind of builds into his story, so I'd like to read that right now if that's possible. So Andrew Schrader, my future paper. When I grow up, I want to be a scientist or a spy. I want to be a scientist because I like science and I have fun with it. One type of scientist I would love to be is an inventor. I want to be an inventor because I like to put things together and see how things work. I want to be a spy because I like sneaking around and finding out other people's secrets. I already have a spy club that the people pay to find things out. We go around hiding and snooping at recess. The bad thing is everybody knows we're spies, so they try to avoid us anyway. And see us talking, especially when we're talking to other people who want to know their secrets. When I go to college, I'd like to go to Harvard because I feel confident and I want to go there. I think I'll have a scholarship of some kind. I think I'll have a lot of friends that go to Harvard with me. And I'd love to go to Harvard. I think I'm good enough, and I want to graduate the top of my class. And if not, I want to do the very best I can so other kids can do the same. When I'm older, I want to be a great role model for kids. Some that may not be doing well in school. Excuse me. I want to stop drug dealers from having innocent people take drugs for the first time. I want to say no when someone asks me to take a sip or just take one little puff. I want to be the one that's smart enough to say no, to stay away from parties, stay away from beer, and other nasty drugs like that. Also, when I grow up, I hope there are no more wars. I want the Twin Towers to be rebuilt, have a giant flag between them. I want there to be no more laws because the world would be a better place without it, and that's the way it should be. Also, when I grow up, I want to have an over-average amount of money. I don't need to be super rich, but I think I'll have a great life. Well, that's what I think and hope for my life. So that's what I guess this will be, the end. That's a letter that I guess we found that he wrote in middle school or elementary school. And there's so many things in that letter that we feel characterizes Andrew. You know, like I said, he was a great son, a brother, always was looking out for Jesslyn. He's a good grandson, hopefully a good nephew. Andrew attended Omaha North High School. It's on the north side of Omaha. He participated in DECA. He was a swimmer. He swam his whole life. He participated in the state swim meet all 4 years of high school. So he loved going to all the DECA events, the conventions, the competitions. He just, anything that had to deal with those type of things, competition, meeting new people, he just loved. Swimming was always his refuge. He always told us that. Swimming basically is where he can clear his mind. So that was some place that he could, or something he could do every day that basically took his mind off everything. He loved to golf. He loved to travel. He was fortunate enough through DECA to see a lot of the country. You know, California, it was Florida, it was Tennessee, Louisville. He was fortunate enough to go to Germany on a student exchange. And the funny thing about Andrew was the fact that if there was something he wanted to do, he'd always find a way to do it. We always joke about the time he came home and he said, "Hey, I'm going to Germany." And we said, "What's the story about this? You're going to Germany?" "Yeah, I'm going to Germany with because he got to know a lot of the kids from Germany that were over here on an exchange and got to be really good friends. And when he came home and said, "Well, I'm going to Germany with the Germany class," and we're like, "You're not even in the Germany class or the German class. So how does this work?" "Well, I understand that, but the kids want me to go, and I went and talked to the teacher, and they have an open spot, so they said I could go." So he always found a way. If there was something that he wanted to do, he found a way to do it. And with that, like I said, he was able to travel a lot through DECA. I said, you know, New York, California, met a lot of friends over all the years in those situations. We were fortunate enough for a senior trip. We all went to Mexico. So that was somewhere he always wanted to go, and we were able to do that. So probably his favorite destination was South Padre, which after he joined or went to college, like anybody that I'm sure that's in this room, once they get to college, will find a fun destination to go to. His was South Padre. And always had a lot of fun there, and that's where we saw one of his first videos, the first time he bungee jumped. So the other thing, Andrew was really active outside of high school. When he was in DECA, he joined a Pike fraternity in college, and he loved being part of that experience. All the things that Pike did, fundraisers. You know, they'd spend a weekend in a box to simulate homeless people, food drives, things like that. Anything that Pike was involved, he was always front and center to help in that situation. So, and he was always, you know, around friends. He loved friends. He'd do anything for friends. If somebody wanted to go to a midnight movie, all they had to do was call Andrew. He was always game to do it. If they needed a ride home from somewhere, all they had to do was call Andrew. He'd come get them. So. And he was always friends, around friends, family. There wasn't a thing that he couldn't do to lighten the mood. He always had a smirk, he always had a good comeback. And it was always got to be a challenge from him and everybody else around him that where you could throw in "that's what she said" comment. So he loved that comment. He could find a place anywhere to throw that one in. So in the letter, Andrew talked about being an inventor. One thing Andrew always did was he always had to know how things work. If he had to tear it apart, research it, Google it, or whatever, he always wanted to see how things work. For example, there was a time when his Xbox broke, and he wanted us to get a new one. We refused. We weren't going to spend the money on getting a new Xbox. So he spent over a week researching online, anywhere he could look to see what a problem would be with that. Found it, and probably spent 10 days fixing the thing, but he finally got it fixed. He tore it all apart, put it all back together, and that was just one of the things that he enjoyed doing. He loved to know how things work. Also in the letter, he talked about going to Harvard and having a scholarship of some kind. One thing with Andrew, and anybody that knew Andrew, extremely intelligent. I mean, from day one, I guess I got to the point probably by the time he was in first grade that I couldn't help him with homework anymore. But he was a sponge. was something that he didn't have to look at more than once to understand. And it seemed like it was hardly any effort. So he hardly ever asked for help with school. He loved to read. He loved to question everything. I always joked with him that someday he just needs to be a lawyer, because everything that he talked about, he wanted to debate it and give the other side of the story. And that came in handy in a lot of cases when he thought he was grounded or something with schoolwork or whatever. For some reason, he'd come back the next day with a whole list of things of why that grounding should be reduced, why he shouldn't do homework. And I know there's teachers in the room, but he would argue day in and day out why he needed to do his homework when he aced every test. And we'd always have that conversation, well, you have to do it because that's part of the curriculum and that's what they're asking you to do. He would argue that all the time, saying, why do I have to prove it if I know what to do? So that was just kind of the type of kid he was. And any conversation, and even his friends joke about this every day, he wanted to prove you wrong. And he kept his phone by his side, and if somebody said something, he would say, let me Google it. And that was always what he was doing, let me Google it. He always kept his phone next to him. So with that, he also, he did very well in school. So he talked about a scholarship to Harvard. He did get a full ride scholarship. He got a 33 on his ACT, and another one of those frustrating deals that he never studied for. He went and took it for the first time, he got a 33. Like it was no big deal. But he was fortunate that he did get a Regent scholarship, and he did attend the University of Nebraska Omaha on a full ride academic scholarship. So, which for us, we were blessed that he stayed close to home. He also talked about having an average amount of money. Andrew always loved money. That was never an issue. And, you know, he'd do whatever he had to do. If he wanted to go on a school trip, or like I said, he wanted to go to Germany, or if he wanted gas money, he did the things that he needed to do. He mowed lawns all over the neighborhood, did yard work for any neighbors. He was a lifeguard all through high school. He taught kids swimming lessons. He just had a knack of kids just clinging to him and just his demeanor and how he was around kids. He also loved, he came to me in 8th grade and asked me, hey Dad, can I borrow $1,000? And I'm like, what do you need $1,000 for? I want to learn how to play in the stock market. So at that age already, he was asking for money like any other kid does, but he also wanted to learn how the stock market worked and how he could make money. Anyway, that there was a way to find easy money if he could. That was the way he wanted to do it. But, he did a lot of research. I said, here's the deal. I said, you research, you can tell me what you want to do. He came back and said, I've done all my research. He said, let's buy Apple stock, which at that age was not a bad choice. Unfortunately, I didn't buy enough of it. So, but. And finally, I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of background of who Andrew was, his activities, the kind of person he was. I mean, Andrew, I know the whole theme this week has been about talking about drugs and drug abuse and all that. And I guess, Steph and Jesslyn are going to talk a little bit, but that's really why we're here today. Andrew talked about being a role model for kids in that letter. And talking about the dangers of drugs. He wanted to stop drug dealers. So unfortunately, we never envisioned this is how it was supposed to happen. But based on what he said, we wanted to really, continue his story of what he wrote about when he was 10 years old. That he wanted to explain the dangers of drugs. And even though he was a very, very smart kid, he made one dumb choice. So, with that, I'll let Steph talk a little bit here as well.
So when Kimberly asked us to come talk today, I knew that it was an important opportunity. I knew from the beginning that this would be our mission. and that Andrew would want that, but I really didn't know what to say. Putting the pain into words is impossible. I tell you about how we haven't been able to celebrate a holiday since Andrew died 18 months ago. I would tell you about how his Hollister jeans are still in his closet and his American Eagle t-shirts are still in his drawers. We just haven't been able to change anything about his bedroom. Even the simple things like going out to dinner when the tables are for 4 and there's only 3 of us. Or how now that when we travel we pack Andrew's ashes to spread in all the destinations he will never get to see. On May 21st, 2011, Andrew was found dead on his dorm room couch by his girlfriend and another friend. He lived 18 years, 11 months, and 21 days. Because he was so young and there were no visible signs of the cause of death, the police treated his death as a homicide. For us, it was a living nightmare. 8 long hours of investigating at the scene, and we still didn't have any answers. An autopsy was ordered by the police, so we waited and waited to find out what took the life of our only son. 7 long weeks later, an autopsy report arrived stating that Andrew died from accidental oxycodone toxicity. Oxycodone, or Oxy, or OC, or OxyContin. It's a common prescription painkiller that's easily attainable and widely used by teenagers and others in this country. From what we can gather, Andrew tried Oxy for the very first time. We don't know why, we don't know where he got it. We know he went to sleep and he never woke up. Like Larry said, Andrew wasn't a dumb kid, and we weren't naive parents. We talked about drugs, we talked about the dangers, he knew the risks, and he still, like many of you, thought it couldn't happen to him. I know statistics really don't mean anything to you, like the fact that today alone, 2,500 teens in the U.S. will try a prescription drug to get high for the first time, or that more than 28,000 people will die in the U.S. this year due to accidental drug overdoses. I know those are just numbers, and you think it won't happen to you, but it can. And it did happen to Andrew, and it happened to our family. I'll tell you what I think Andrew would want you to know. He'd want to tell you that if you think you can try a prescription drug once and that you'll be safe, you're wrong. You are wrong. And I know that some of these drugs are available in your parents' or grandparents' medicine cabinets, and that you think it's safe. I mean, it's prescribed by a doctor and it's in your house. Why wouldn't it be safe? It's not like heroin or something, cocaine, marijuana, whatever. But it's not. And I know I can quote statistics all I want. In reality, the only statistic that really matters is that Andrew tried a prescription drug one time and died. He didn't ingest a large amount, but the dose killed him. One time, one dose. Again, he ingested a normal amount of a prescription medication that was not prescribed to him and died. This could happen to anyone. So if you're taking drugs to get high, prescription or illegal, you put yourself at risk of death. Andrew's death has changed every single aspect of our lives. In so many ways, I can't believe that he's gone. My hope today is that if any of you decide to experiment with drugs, you'll think about Andrew and us and the rest of his family and choose not to take that risk.
Hi, I'm Jesslyn, and I just wanted to tell my story of the day it happened. I grew up in Spencer, Iowa, a small town, with my mom, dad, and my big brother Andrew. I lived a normal life, and then moved to Omaha, Nebraska when I was 6. I played played basketball, did gymnastics, and was just like any typical girl. I never thought in a million years anything would go terribly wrong in my life. I was so lucky to have such a great family. You know, when you watch the news or read the newspaper, you see all these horrible things happening to such innocent people. Like deadly car accidents, shootings, people passing away from cancer. I always saw those things happening to people as I grew up, and I never actually stopped to think, hey, this could happen to me. It's true, right? We never think these things can happen to us. And last year, on May 21st, 2011, I realized the true meaning of you don't know what you've got till it's gone. On that day, my big brother, my only sibling, passed away. The day it happened feels just like yesterday. I remember everything. It was the worst day of my entire life. I was 14 years old, just finished my 8th grade year, and looking forward to a fresh start in high school. That Saturday morning in May, my dad woke me up and told me he was going to leave to go to my cousin Brian's graduation party. Andrew was supposed to go with him, but my dad said Andrew was not answering his phone. So I tried calling him and he still wasn't answering. My brother was just finishing his freshman year in college at the University of Nebraska-Omaha, and he was living in the dorm rooms. My dad had to leave, so he left and said he would stop at the dorms to see if Andrew was there. He said he hadn't seen his car, so we just figured he was probably sleeping late at a friend's or at the fraternity house he was involved in. So while my dad was on his way to Iowa, my mom and I decided to go stop at the dorms again to see if we could find him. And then it was normal for Andrew not to pick up his phone, so we didn't think anything of it. As we arrived at the dorms, we saw cop cars and people standing outside his dorm building. We had no idea why they were there, but as we walked closer, we saw Andrew's best friend, Ryan. Ryan came up to my mom and just hugged her and told her she had to go talk to the police. Immediately, I began crying, as Ryan hugged me too. I didn't know what was going on, and nobody would tell me. I just hoped my brother was okay. Finally, about 10 minutes later, my mom came back and said, Andrew's gone. I couldn't breathe, and I tried not to believe her. I couldn't stop crying. It almost felt like a horrible nightmare, and I just wanted to wake up. To this day, I still go to sleep every night, just wishing I would wake up and Andrew will be here. I guess what I'm trying to tell you guys is that these things do happen to people. And I know my brother would want me to share my story and experience to make people realize, especially teenagers, that yes, it's okay to make mistakes in life and learn from them. But we shouldn't make stupid decisions, because that one bad choice can take their own life or someone else's. I'd also like to share the speech I read at my brother's funeral. Andrew Stephen Schrader, just like your initials, you are such an ass, but you still meant the world to me. I can't imagine what life is going to be like without you here to make fun of me and try to wrestle with me. You always were such an outgoing and perfect big brother and could constantly make me laugh. These past few days, all I wanted is for you to walk through the garage door with your little black hamper to do your laundry. Even though I'd be sleeping on the couch when you came, I really treasured those few hours I had with you every week. It feels like just yesterday you were learning how to ride your bike down the street in Spencer, Iowa, and I would be yelling, Andrew, come back! There are so many memories I have of you that I'll keep in my heart forever. I remember when we would be in the basement playing Halo 3 on Xbox, and I'd come down to steal the TV from you. You'd always get so mad at me, and we always fought over the basement. When you got Guitar Hero, you'd be down there for hours practicing with Ryan. I was so jealous that you could do the hardest song on expert mode. Every time a new Xbox game came out, you were always there at midnight to be the first to get it. I had the greatest time of my life with you. I could just see your beautiful white smile and sparkling blue eyes that I always wanted. The last memory I will ever have of you is when we were in the garage and you were trying to teach me to skateboard, even though you couldn't do it yourself. I learned so much from you. You helped me so much with math even when I knew you didn't want to. Why would you? You didn't even do your own math. You struggled more in life than you had to, but you never let anything get to you. I really looked up to you for that. You had more courage than anybody I've ever met. I'm going to just hear your loud car stereo from a mile away. You were definitely the cool kid on the block. You had all the girls and so many friends I could hardly keep up. Ryan was such a good friend to you, and he's just like another big brother to me. I'm so glad he is here to mess with me and put a smile on my face. Even though Andrew's not here, I know his spirit is watching over me. I'm going to miss him so much, and so will hundreds of other people. We all have so many memories of Andrew in our heart that we will cherish forever. He is definitely the best big brother I could ever ask for. Only the good die young.
So, I guess you heard a little bit about Andrew's whole situation. And I know one thing Kim asked about was, what are the things that go through, your family on a daily basis? And I just wrote down some of the things that constantly go through my mind on a daily basis. We always talk about, the worst time is a quiet time. The busier you are, the more your mind's engaged and the less you think about it from that standpoint. Me personally, I like to go walk or run or ride bike, and Steph has always asked me, how can you do that because it's quiet? But for me, that's the only time that I can think about it, and other than being here and crying, that's the only time I can get away from everybody else and shed a tear once in a while. But there's so many things that go through your mind on a daily basis. I mean, there's never a day that we don't think about him. You're constantly asking yourself why it happened. Why wasn't there anybody there to look over him? Why did he try this, even though he knew the dangers? There's so many constant reminders wherever you go. Hearing the song on the radio. Going to a college event, knowing you got all the college kids there having a blast, and you're saying Andrew should be here too, having fun. All the things that we're going to miss out on. College graduation, marriage, kids, jobs, family trips. Just the fact that he's in the room with us. The other things that go through your mind is you become angry. You're angry. At yourself because maybe there was something that you could have done. Maybe there was something that you missed that could have prevented all this. We constantly talk about, within our family, like Steph said, we talk about drugs. We talk about prescription drugs and the dangers of all that. And, everybody sitting out there, I've been there too, is, your parents are only as smart as they are that day. You're still going to make your own choices eventually, and we hope you make the right choices. Andrew and I even had a big discussion one time about the difference between a drug and a dose. A lot of my background was in biology, and we talk about that. Even water can be deadly if ingested enough. And so we've had conversations about drugs and about the dose, and it doesn't take much. If your body is in a situation that can inject it, a little for one person is all it takes, even though somebody else that could ingest a lot and not be affected. We talk about that, how that can be fatal, and constantly think about where there's signs that we missed. There's always regret. Regrets that, for me, regrets that I didn't make it to every swim meet. Sometimes a job you felt was more important. In hindsight, you regret missing all those activities. You regret not going golfing more often, or going fishing, or those type of things. I know the last night we were together, we had pizza, and he made a comment to me and said, "Hey, Dad, we need to go golfing more this summer." So, a lot of those things that you wish you were doing earlier, you regret.